If you've bought cocaine in Europe any time in the last 5 years,
they came in silence, their steel shells gliding beneath the ocean surface, invisible to radars, undetectable by drones. Not naval submarines or scientific explorers, these were the ghosts of the drug world. Homemade narco-submarines constructed deep inside the Colombian jungle by skilled engineers hired by criminal billionaires. Loaded with tons of pure cocaine, they slipped across the Pacific, running silent, running deadly. This isn't the story of a street dealer. This isn't a movie script. This is real, an intricate global empire that operates far beyond the reach of traditional law enforcement. An economy so vast and sophisticated, it rivals multinational corporations in complexity and wealth. Welcome to the modern drug cartel. Invisible, intelligent, and far more dangerous than most dare to imagine. It all began in the rainforests of Colombia, where the drug trade had thrived for decades. The Medellin and Cali cartels had once dominated, using planes and trucks. But as US and Colombian authorities clamped down, the traffickers adapted. If air and land were too risky, the answer lay beneath the waves. The first narco-submarines were crude, a patchwork of fiberglass, plywood, and stolen engines. Some barely floated, but they worked. And each success brought refinements. Within years, engineers perfected the craft. Newer subs could carry up to 10 tons of cocaine, stay submerged for days, and travel thousands of miles from South America's Pacific coast to Mexico or Central America, where overland routes into the US awaited. By the 2010s, law enforcement was stunned by the sophistication. Some subs were fully submersible, complete with air filtration systems, GPS navigation, and escape hatches. Entire crews were trained to navigate quietly across international waters. In 2019, a US Coast Guard operation intercepted one such vessel off the coast of Central America. Inside, over 17,000 pounds of cocaine, with a street value exceeding $230 million. But for every sub captured, experts estimate 3 to 5 made it through undetected. Silent profits multiplied with each successful journey. The cartel wasn't just trafficking drugs, it was inventing a new kind of warfare. As enforcement intensified along US routes, South American cartels pivoted toward Europe, where demand soared and prices doubled. And at the heart of this shift stood the port of Antwerp, Belgium. Handling over 230 million tons of cargo annually, Antwerp became a key gateway for European commerce and for cocaine. Cartels invested millions to embed operatives inside port operations. Dock workers, crane operators, and IT administrators were offered bribes so large they couldn't refuse. Some were paid over 200,000 euros for a single successful container movement. Others were blackmailed or threatened. Sophisticated hacking allowed traffickers to access container routing data. They manipulated schedules, delayed inspections, and rerouted shipments. In some cases, entire shifts of dock workers were controlled by the cartel, ensuring containers were moved directly from ship to truck without ever being scanned. Police investigations uncovered encrypted communication networks that stretched far beyond Antwerp, linking suppliers in Ecuador, brokers in Spain, financiers in Dubai, and mafia syndicates in Italy. Antwerp wasn't just a port. It was a critical node in a billion-dollar international trade route. The cocaine had a destination, but the money? That required a different kind of logistics. Enter Dubai. While drugs flowed west, Billions in illicit profits flowed east into the glittering skyline of the United Arab Emirates. Dubai became the financial capital of the global drug empire, providing the perfect environment for laundering massive sums. Its appeal was simple: luxury real estate markets with minimal oversight, financial secrecy, no extradition for financial crimes, and political protection for foreign investors. Cartel kingpins quietly purchased multi-million-dollar penthouses through offshore shell companies, hiding their identities behind layers of legal paperwork. Gold dealers, luxury watch sellers, and cryptocurrency brokers eagerly facilitated anonymous transactions. One notorious money laundering network funneled over $400 million into Dubai's real estate market, using ghost companies registered in the British Virgin Islands. Meanwhile, drug lords held meetings in five-star hotels, negotiated billion-dollar deals in private lounges, and lived among global elites who had no idea who they were sharing elevators with. Interpol now estimates that hundreds of high-level cartel financiers operate from Dubai, safely out of reach from extradition. The cartels had gone corporate. They weren't just shipping drugs, they were building offshore empires. While South America handled supply and Dubai handled profits, Europe's distribution lines were being quietly seized by a new power: the Albanian mafia. For decades, Italian mafias like the 'Ndrangheta and Cosa Nostra had dominated European drug trade. But as Italian law enforcement cracked down, Albanian clans moved in, faster, more violent, and astonishingly well organized. Operating as tight family units, Albanian crime syndicates negotiated direct partnerships with South American suppliers, bypassing middlemen entirely. They controlled warehouses in Rotterdam, Antwerp, Hamburg, and London. With ruthless efficiency, they built transportation networks spanning Western Europe, smuggling cocaine alongside legal goods in legitimate shipping companies. Unlike other groups, the Albanians avoided turf wars that drew police attention. Instead, they specialized in logistics: clean, efficient, invisible. The few who crossed them learned quickly. Betrayal meant death. Entire families were targeted if one member turned informant. Loyalty was absolute. In one case, investigators found that Albanian cartels had quietly purchased controlling interests in several European shipping companies, giving them near complete control over distribution chains. By 2023, Europol declared the Albanian mafia among Europe's most dangerous and powerful organized crime groups, controlling up to 40% of cocaine distribution on the continent. They weren't a gang, they were a shadow corporation. But cocaine isn't the only product driving cartel profits. In recent years, synthetic drugs have exploded onto the global market. Methamphetamine, synthetic cannabinoids, and most dangerously, fentanyl. Behind this synthetic surge lies a different kind of supplier: China's chemical industry. Unlike plant-based drugs, synthetic narcotics require chemical precursors, legal industrial compounds with dozens of legitimate uses. Thousands of chemical factories across China manufacture these compounds for agriculture, pharmaceuticals, and manufacturing. But a growing share quietly feeds the global drug trade. Using complex layers of front companies and shadow brokers, cartels purchase huge volumes of these chemicals. Some are mislabeled, others are shipped through ports with falsified documents. Once they reach clandestine labs in Mexico, Southeast Asia, or even Europe, they're transformed into lethal drugs. 1 kilogram of fentanyl, synthesized from Chinese precursors, can generate profits of over $5 million on US streets. And the overdose death toll climbs with each shipment. Despite diplomatic pressure, enforcement remains limited. The sheer scale of legitimate Chinese trade makes policing every chemical shipment virtually impossible. New companies replace shutdown exporters almost instantly. It's a global chemical cat-and-mouse game, with devastating consequences. For years, cartel leaders coordinated their global operations through encrypted phone networks like EncroChat, Sky ECC, and Anam. These highly secure, subscription-based platforms allowed criminals to manage logistics, launder profits, and arrange killings in near total secrecy. But in 2020, law enforcement struck back. European investigators cracked EncroChat's encryption, giving police real-time access to over 60,000 criminal users worldwide. In a coordinated series of raids, authorities arrested thousands of suspects, seized millions in assets, and dismantled entire trafficking networks. In one case, British police intercepted messages describing cocaine shipments routed from Ecuador to London via Rotterdam. In another, French authorities uncovered assassination plots ordered via encrypted chat. Yet the victories were temporary. As platforms were shut down, criminals simply shifted to new systems or returned to old-school face-to-face meetings. The infrastructure adapted. The money kept flowing. The machine evolved. The encrypted world gave them an edge, but it wasn't the foundation. The real strength of the global cartel system lies in its corporate structure. The modern cartel doesn't look like what most people imagine. It doesn't rely on street gangs or bloody turf wars. It's organized like a Fortune 500 company, with boardroom negotiations, mergers, franchises, and financial strategists. Every part of the operation is outsourced to professionals. Logistics firms handle shipping. Lawyers manage shell companies. Accountants launder billions. Cybersecurity experts build encrypted systems. Offshore consultants shield assets in tax havens. A single shipment of cocaine might cross 7 countries, involve 3 legal entities, be handled by a dozen subcontractors, and be financed by an entirely different investment group. If one link breaks, the system keeps running. The modern cartel is resilient. Arrests make headlines, but behind every high-profile takedown, another operator quietly steps into place. It's not just a crime syndicate, it's an economy. Today, the global drug trade is worth more than $500 billion annually. That's more than the GDP of most nations. It fuels private armies, corrupts governments, builds skyscrapers, funds private jets, and devastates communities worldwide. In the streets of Glasgow, in the alleys of Chicago, in the suburbs of Sydney, lives are destroyed by addiction. Families are shattered. Communities collapse. And yet, for every overdose, another shipment arrives. The system remains untouched. Governments arrest kingpins, police seize drugs, customs agents intercept containers. But the structure, the ports, the financial loopholes, the corporate shields, endures. It mutates, it adapts, and it profits. Because as long as there is demand, as long as money can be made, the machine will never stop. The next cartel isn't being built in the jungle. It's being built in corporate boardrooms, offshore banks, and luxury penthouses around the world. If this story opened your eyes, if it pulled back the curtain on a world most people never see, help us keep telling these stories. Hit the like button so more people find this video. Subscribe so you never miss our next deep investigation. And leave a comment below. Do you believe this global empire can ever be dismantled? Or have only begun to scratch the surface? Thank you for watching. And remember, the most dangerous empires don't need violence to thrive. They just need to remain invisible.